You are not going to believe this. We have reinforcements of 78,000 police officers for the opposition of Assembly Bill 1244. 78,000. We just started off as a ragtag group on YouTube. We started circulating our petition, and we got 78,000 police officers behind our back. How did this happen? So I belong to a labor association. I work full-time law enforcement. I belong to what's called a POA, Peace Officers Association or Police Officers Association. Years ago, somebody by the name of Brian Marvel reached out to us and asked for our endorsement of him running for a leadership position within PORAC. Brian Marvel worked for the San Diego Police Department. He's in charge of their POA. And we said, hell yeah, we'll endorse you. So a few days ago, I went to figure out who the leadership is at PORAC, because again, I'm actually a member of PORAC, and that stands for the Peace Officer Research Association of California. And I found out that Brian Marvel is the president. We get a hold of Brian Marvel. So I reached out to him. I laid him the facts about Assembly Bill 1244, and he agreed to reach out to the PORAC lobbyist, who, by the way, does this on a near full-time basis, who's already in Sacramento, who has an office in Sacramento. And they're going to reach out to Mr. Holden's office and have some words with him, have a discussion. If it doesn't go their way, when I mean they, I mean PORAC's way, then PORAC will most likely oppose that bill. Not guaranteed, but most likely oppose. But Brian Marvel, he listened to what I had to say. And remember, I represent at least 380 of you. And he's in agreement that this law is created. And part of my opposition is this law is an anti-police law. And he agrees with me on that. Now, there's a caveat on this. Full disclaimer, guys and gals, if I reach out to an association of 78,000 police officers or peace officers, who do you think that they represent? If you think security, the answer is no. They represent peace officers. So I don't believe that PORAC gave much significance to the military, to the lack of military exemption, to the lack of security exemption. Remember, you have to work for a private patrol operator for 1 year, and that operator has to be current. 1 year in a managerial or administrative role. I don't think PORAC had, for lack of better terms, I don't think that issue was much of significance to them because they're PORAC. They concentrate on issues that affect peace officers. So what they're trying to do is get a peace officer exemption in there. Okay, they realize that this law it seems like an anti-police law, but maybe there needs to be some more clarification. So they're going to reach out to Mr. Holden's office, and guys, they have 78,000 behind them. We have 380. We're not even an association yet. I mean, we're in the process of that. Mr. Holden's office are going to most likely listen to PORAC because they represent 78,000. So we got to see what happens. The significance of this is Mr. Holden's office will see that there's some type of opposition. It may not be the opposition that we all want, but there's some type of opposition, and it's significant opposition. So we'll see if they'll make some adjustments to that. My fear is that there might be some adjustments, but there'll only be some exemptions to law enforcement managers that are clear managers. And I'm talking about lieutenant and above. Now, an argument could be made that a sergeant is also a manager. I mean, I know I have a lot of lieutenants and sergeants from law enforcement agencies that are retired or they're current. As a sergeant, I mean, technically you are a manager. That's something that they stress to you in the 2-week post basic supervisory school. So that's what we have going on right now. That's what we have boiling. So I know in a way it's kind of disappointing because they're going to advocate for peace officers, but in a way it's good because there's going to be some opposition. So now, because PORAC is, and this is not an official statement by PORAC, guys. They're kind of sort of opposing this. I mean, if they're going to ask for some type of exemption, it's not a total opposition, but PORAC doesn't necessarily agree with the assembly bill. That's why they're reaching out to them. The goodness of this, like I said before, and I'm going to keep stressing this point, is that there's opposition. There'll be formal opposition of it. There might be registered opposition of it. So a lot of the yays for passing assembly bill, some of them might turn nay. If we can get one person to say nay or two to say nay that are Democrats, we've already made an impact out there. And something else I want to stress to you, ladies and gentlemen, I can't do this on my own. I have my right-hand man, T, helping me out. He helps me out a lot on this. But the bill is going to be, if it's going to be modified in any way, it's going to be modified in such a way that myself and T believe that should be modified. Because right now I feel like we're the only two that are making the phone calls. Well, put it this way, making the phone calls and that are voicing our opinions on it. Now, there's about 5 of you that are helping a lot. The channels are helping. Those of you are writing letters. That's awesome. But we need people to be a little bit more aggressive on this. And by aggressive, I mean reach out and call these people. So I still need you to do your part. If it wasn't for you guys, I don't think Brian Marvel would have listened to me if I didn't mention that we have a petition signed of 380 people. So I brought that into play, and I believe that was significant because he was looking at it like, wait a minute, you guys got 380 people to sign? So I need you to please do your part and go through all the steps. First step is to email Mr. Armstrong. That's the chief of staff for Mr. Holden. Second, I want you to get a hold of Mr. Holden's office, call him or call his office, or send him a letter. And I'll leave those steps in the description box below. And then step 3 is click the box to get a hold of your local assemblyman. Now, if you live in the San Gabriel Valley, we need your help. Because if you contact that office directly, he's going to see that you're one of his constituents, and he is most likely going to respond to you because you are the constituent that's most likely going to vote him into office next time. So your contact with him is more significant than mine or anyone else's because you are directly his constituent. So San Gabriel area, you need to contact them ASAP. Today is Tuesday. You have until tomorrow. They're going to be talking about Assembly Bill 1244 on Thursday. So tomorrow is the last date. I might change my stance on that. I might give you an update depending on what happens on Thursday. Okay? I need everybody to help. And then step 4 is to circulate our Assembly Bill 1244 opposition. I need you to continue to circulate that out. I need you to help us out on the 4 steps. On the the second step, you are registering with the legislative office. Just make up a username and password. Forget about it. Just send that email. If you're in San Gabriel area, they might actually read your email or read your letter when they start talking about Assembly Bill 1244. And you need to give your own reasons. Look, PORAC is going to give their own reasons for wanting the bill modified or wanting the bill just eliminated. And it's going to be geared towards peace officers. Those who are in the military organizations, like Veterans Affairs, those organizations are going to push for military. They're going to push for the enlisted should have the ability to qualify as a manager. But we don't really have much of a voice in security. I mean, I talk loud on camera here, but in reality, I mean, we're 380 strong and growing. I believe that there's maybe about 50 here that are more active. And guys, by the way, if you're more active and I didn't acknowledge you, I apologize. If I don't communicate with you, if you're not telling me what you're doing in the comments, I don't know what you're doing. But it's up to you as individuals as well to do your part. Okay? You have to go out there and ask. What irritates me the most is I get people calling me, asking me for help on everything, and they're not mentioning that they oppose Assembly Bill 1244. Well, I'll tell you this. If you're not going to help us out, why should I help you out with something? Now, I know a lot of you read my book, but you read my book and hopefully it's helped you pass. But other than that, I don't owe you anything. Just as much as you don't owe me nothing. I think we owe this effort to the security community as a whole. Now, there's been some discussion that there's some exemptions in Assembly Bill 1244 for military. If you are enlisted, then you can dispute the fact that you have some managerial or administrative experience. Okay, that's possible. And there's also a disagreement that, hey, you know what? I can just go to my current employer and have them sign off on my manager and administrative experience, because as a first line supervisor, I'm in charge of scheduling, I'm in charge of supervising. Therefore, that counts as manager experience. Well, what you're doing is you're giving the ability to make that decision to the chief of BSIS, to BSIS, the Bureau of Security Investigative Services, the regulatory arm for private security, private investigation personnel in California. You're giving them that discretionary authority. For those of you who are trying to make that a point, and there's very few, I'll say this: you really trust BSIS to make those decisions. Like, wouldn't you want that written in the law so that it's clear? Rather, you're giving discretionary authority to BSIS. As of today, you still cannot have an LLC and have a security company. Some of you are going to say, well, I searched on the website and I found a bunch of security companies that have LLCs. I'll say this, that there's a training organization out there that had an LLC, and they're a BSIS board member. Well, BSIS put their license on suspension because they made a mistake giving that organization a TFF certificate, Training Firearm Facility Certificate, because they're not allowed to have LLCs. They suspended their license, guys. So they're not going to be able to operate for 5 months. And one of the guys is on the BSIS committee. They will eat their own people alive. They will. And right now, I can't think of anybody that has reviewed and analyzed BSIS over the last 12 years. There's nobody other than myself. If you have been analyzing them, I would like to hear about that. I wrote a book called The Private Patrol Operator. I wrote a book about the California Illegal Investigator. I offer BSIS auditing and investigation services. Basically, I audit your business to make sure it's as compliant as possible with the Business Professions Code, because I myself have been audited. I've been through all this. I've testified as an expert at Department of Consumer Affairs at a regulatory hearing. And Department of Consumer Affairs, by the way, they're the mother of BSIS. I have monitored them since 2010. Maybe, I think I'm going on the 13th year. Okay? So let's not believe that BSIS is going to do the right thing. I have some good intel. I got photographs of people that are government representatives that have lied under oath. I have statements written down where they lie. And I'm not going to clarify by the word they. Again, I'm playing chess the right way. I could just start throwing names out there and photographs of people, but how far am I going to get? Now, the moment or the day that I decide that I'm going to surrender all of my BSIS licenses, all the licenses I have, then it's time to go to town. So that's all I got. please sign the petition, but more so call them. Call them, email them, send your letters. We must do this now. Just because PORAC is helping us out, and I don't know, when I say us, I don't even know what that means. I mean, it would be maybe a select few of our viewers. There are some viewers, I want to say about 10% of those who watch our videos who are former law enforcement, who would benefit if PORAC gets their language in. Okay. Ultimately, I mean, we got PORAC to listen to us, guys, and it's because of that petition. So that's awesome. That's all I have. Stay blessed, everybody, and let's stay in the fight. And I'll give you an update in the next couple.